This week on Supercars Talk, I preview the Bet Easy Darwin Triple Crown. It's that time of year where it's cold and wet down in the southern states, and the Supercars head up north to some nice fancy weather in some exotic places. This weekend they're up in Darwin, the Hidden Valley circuit, for the Bet Easy Triple Crown. So what's the Triple Crown, you may ask? It's not the made-up award that Fernando Alonso is trying to win. It's the made-up award that's available to the winner of Darwin if they win both of the races and win the top 10 shootout. Currently, no one's actually ever won the Triple Crown, but, well, this year, quite possibly, Scott McLaughlin. He's won just about everything else so far this year. So the makeup of the weekend, pretty similar to the normal super sprint rounds. The only difference, of course, on Sunday, instead of having the three-part knockout qualifying, they actually have a longer 20-minute qualifying session, and then there's a top 10 shootout to follow. Race 15 on the Saturday is 42 laps, and race 16 on the Sunday is 70 laps. All pretty similar to a normal weekend, and of course this time around we have Friday practice, a couple of practice sessions on Friday, and of course the morning practice session on Saturday. Interestingly enough, on Sunday there's no practice session in the morning. Obviously, without the knockout qualifying system, they kind of don't need a practice session. It will be good for the fans to see them out there, but the fans do get to see, as I said, the longer 20-minute qualifying session and then the top 10 shootout. Probably the big talking point this weekend is once again going to be the corner cutting that happened at Winton. I'm still... Scott, he didn't do it by choice. He got punted off. So, and all of this, if there was a wall there, he would have hit it. Well, there wasn't a wall there, so he didn't hit it. He did everything in the rules. I'm not sure if they're going to, what rules are in place for this weekend. I know there's a lot of conjecture a few years ago. I think it might have been about 2014 or 15. Dave Reynolds, he was overtaking a back marker. I can't remember who it was, but it might be a bit insulting depending on, I think it might have been Caruso. So, he was, anyway, whoever it was, he was lapping them. He overshot himself in the braking zone, shot across, I think it's turn 4, and then you go into the hairpin turn 5 at Darwin. And he shot straight across and kept going. He was in the lead of the race, kept going and went on to win. And under the rules at the time, you could, if you didn't gain an advantage, that was fine. The question mark there was that although he was overtaking someone at the time, I mean, they didn't run him off or anything. He didn't get punted. He made his own mistake and then didn't lose any time. I think it's a bit different if you get punted off. Be interesting this weekend to see if, maybe they put a temporary chicane in there where, you have to slow right down to get through, like what they do at Sandown. If you shoot off at turn 1 Sandown, you have to go through a tight tyre barrier to rejoin at turn, I think it's about turn 3 by that point where you rejoin. But so you don't get an advantage just kind of running off by yourself. So it will be interesting to see whether they tighten up the rules there or whether it's kind of, left a bit open. Be a brave man to be the first one, if it is kind of left open to kind of, barrel straight through there at full speed and overtake a few cars and, take chances. If anyone was going to do something like that, the current crop, I reckon probably Van Gisbergen's probably the one with the kahunas big enough to do that. In the past, that would have definitely been something Paul Morris would have had a crack at. Always liked playing in those grey areas where they left something a little bit open to interpretation. So the only changes for this weekend that we're probably looking at, kind of livery-wise, is Jack Smith's back in the 4th BJR car as a wild card again. I assume he's going to be the same paint job, the SCT Logistics livery that he's been running currently. Nick Percat, not a new livery. Back in the Darwin livery, he ran down in Tasmania. So I'm quite happy about that. I really like that livery. And also, I suppose, a bit of a week off for the livery designers in that team. Nothing new for them, just a bit of re-stickering, and off they go. Currently, I haven't heard whether Richie's well or not. The last kind of report we heard was he was going to be fine for Darwin. Will be interesting to see whether he turns up, whether he runs, and whether he has any trouble. I'm sure they've probably got Chris Pither on a flight up there with them at the moment. Even if Richie says I'd say they're going to have a backup there ready to go just in case. So last year, fairly kind of straightforward races. We saw Scotty win on the Saturday. Yeah, funnily enough, he used to win in the Falcon as well. It's not just since he jumped in the Mustang that he's been winning everything. Although Sunday we saw Dave Reynolds win up there. And they had a really good weekend down in Winton, so hopefully Erebus has kind of found their way again, and hopefully they'll be right back up the top. Bit of a dark horse for this weekend. Nissans have traditionally gone reasonably well here. We've seen Caruso and Rick Kelly have a win in the Nissan. They ran fairly well. They didn't end up getting any podiums last year, but they did run fairly well. I think Rick may have even had the pole on the Sunday. He might have even won the top 10. Could be wrong about that. Correct me in the comments if I am. Could be a bit of a dark horse there. And funnily enough, traditionally Triple Eight haven't gone the best here. I'm trying to remember. I mean, they've probably won a bunch of races, but it's not one of those circuits where you go to where you think, oh, okay, Triple Eight are definitely going to be at the front of this one. They have had a bit of a hard time of it, and they haven't had the best run for the year, although there was definitely improving signs for them down in Winton as well. They had a really good weekend compared to what they've had for the rest of the year. So my tip for the weekend, well, how can we go past Scott McLaughlin? He basically won everything this year. I think we could possibly see the Triple Crown actually taken home. That might make Fernando Alonso a little bit sad. Someone actually gets to take a Triple Crown home this year, but that's what happens when you don't qualify for the Indy 500, eh? That wraps up my preview for this weekend. Hopefully there's some sun, and I'll be jealous sitting at home watching it on the TV. Until next time, I'll see you later.
Put away your inhibitions. Let the beast in you just get loose. We all young, wild, and